Have you had stuff uncovered emotionally in your emotional body?
Oh, absolutely. And I've actually worked with clients to do that as well. I mean, that was something that I learned because we have such an emotional connection with food. Habits, or like things that they can't seem to really kick, right? Really comes from an emotional connection. Sometimes it's, as you said, it can be like from your ancestral lineage. It could be something that had happened in your soul's journey from maybe even a past life. But then I'm doing the healing work to connect, because that sugar craving that you may have has nothing to do with your physical body, has absolutely something that happened when you were like 5 or 6 or 7 that maybe carried on from like what happened with your mom. And once we figure that out, then it's no longer an issue. I've done that many times.
This podcast exists because I love talking to people and I love going deep. The purpose is to plant seeds of inspiration. We enter a space of vulnerability and relatability. And what you realize is that we are so much more alike than we are different. To quote Ram Dass, we're all just walking each other home. And this show is just one step. I'm Danica Patrick, and I'm pretty intense.
Welcome back. Today on the show is Serena Poon. She is a celebrity chef, a certified nutritionist, and a Reiki Master. So before we got on, I, of course, always put a lot of thought and intention into what I'm going to ask them and understanding who they are and what they're really into. And I like had this sort of like block. I wasn't sure exactly what to ask her. And it became clear why. And that's because the things that she's really at her core all about are not necessarily the sort of go-to things that you would think to ask someone who's basically a chef. She is very much into the energetic realm of existence, our own with the chakras, as well as putting energy into food and the energy that food is. And like I said, she's a Reiki master. She's very much into the quantum realm of existence, into energy. And we had a super cool conversation about all these different modalities. And truly, to be honest, this is a future conversation because this is really what's coming. Yes, you're going to need to have good food and you're going to have to take care of yourself and work out and do those kinds of things. But the next frontier is in the world of energetics. And I feel like people are getting that here and there, but that is what's coming. So Serena's ahead of the curve on that. And she's doing incredible things and has incredible stories that you'll hear about. And she's really here to help people. So I hope that you take a lot from this interview, because I sure did. How are you today?
I'm so good. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Where do you live?
I'm in Santa Monica.
Oh, cool. That's nice. Venice, not nearby. I like Venice. It's like a little got the hippie vibe in Venice.
You're in Venice?
No, but I just like that area when it's right next door.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it is right next door. It's so funny. I have to tell you. So I had just popped onto your podcast and saw that your latest guest was Nassim. And
you have the arc on?
Yes! I got one for myself, my mom, my sister. I told like a dozen of my clients to get it. I don't know if they all got one, but I'm like, you guys should get the arc. So I'm wearing mine.
So cool. Well, I mean, obviously that just like dumps us right into, because look, it's like when I was, thinking about what to ask you, and it's like, sometimes when my mind is like confused or divided, I'm like, it's because there's two parts. It's like, there's not really one part to ask you about. It's really two parts, which is food, but then spirituality. I mean, I feel like they both are, you've sort of merged the two, and they're, presumably they're totally connected, but not necessarily connected so definitively or so obviously. So how did you, I know how you got into the food stuff. So how did you get into the spirituality?
Yeah. So it's such a common question. It's like, how did you go from being a chef, a nutritionist, to being a Reiki master? And really that came from my own personal journey. And I think, I'm an empath and I've always had, I'm an intuitive, but not really having an understanding of what that was, what that meant, just feeling things so deeply always. And when I was, so after my 4th surgery, and I don't know if that's something you've seen in my other interviews or read about, but I nearly died after my 4th surgery. So I've had like 8. I had MRSA that I contracted after one of my surgeries, and then that became like a thing that we couldn't get out of my system. So after my 4th surgery, I had a massive hematoma. I was bleeding internally. I lost, oh, I'm sorry, that's Gizmo. I lost like 2 liters of blood nearly, but it was all internal bleeding. It was crazy. And so after that, that's, we can dive into that or talk about that another time, but that was so lucky really to recover from that and to have, I think, angels surrounding me. And I had a client who came and basically grabbed me, picked me up, took me to a surgeon that they knew as they had in their family. And in that process of healing, I wasn't able to use the upper left side of my body for months. And I didn't know if it was going to be weeks or months or like how long. And as a chef, I didn't know how I was going to support myself, because I couldn't cook. And so, I could do some things with like my right hand. So, that whole experience, and I think after having had multiple surgeries and just the journey that I was on at that point in my life, I just committed to speaking with a healer that I had kind of like in the background, because therapy I wasn't really connecting with therapy. I tried to go to therapy after our dad passed away, and then our mom got sick from cancer. So that wasn't really working for me, but talking to a healer sort of did. But then I wasn't committed. I was like 911 call. I would call my healer. We'd have a session. I'd feel better. So after this happened with the surgery, I just felt like, okay, so I do my nutrition, got that check. Like I was really good about my physical fitness, had that in check. All this stuff is still happening, things are still not in alignment. So I committed to talking to her, Noelle, like at least every 3 or 4 weeks, just to check in, just to whether, no matter what, if I was having a good day or a bad day. It just seemed like endless bad days at that point, but still. And after working with her for about 8 months, she was like, I want you to come out to Santa Fe, because she lived in Santa Fe, New Mexico. She has the most interesting story, actually. She was like, she was retired. She's in her 60s. She was a mom. Like she was a teacher, done her thing, was living in Tennessee. Not Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee, Nashville. And she had a calling and literally was called to move to Santa Fe, New Mexico, left her husband. They maintained a distant relationship as a married couple for a few years. Her children were adults. She had grandchildren. Just answered this calling, moved to Santa Fe, didn't know anybody, and she started practicing and just her work, that she felt called to do. And so it took me a few months, because I was like, okay, you're my master. Like, I don't know what you're talking about here, to come, because she basically wanted me to come out as an apprentice, and she wanted to teach me what she was doing, because she was 70 at the time and felt like she was ascending and felt like she needed to have like at least 1 or 2 apprentices that she could send her clients to should one day she ascend. And it took me about 4 months, because I was like, that self-worth of like, who am I? You're my master. I can't do what you do. And she finally got me to go out there, and I spent the weekend with her, and she taught me everything that she did. Like we did all this stuff, like super intense for a weekend. And then I came back and I felt overwhelmed, like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. Am I doing that? Like I had my notes so I decided to take Reiki, because I just needed something with like some more structure that I could go back and, okay, there's like a workbook. I'm still applying what she taught me and what I'm learning, but I just needed something with more structure. So I started to study Reiki. And then I realized in that process between working with her and then studying with her and then studying Reiki that was like the missing piece, and it was almost like I was already kind of doing it, but not knowing what I was doing. And then now I had more structure, and I could really channel that energy and really use the energy of like food and really kind of like dive into our energy centers and figure out how I could use food to feed our physical body, but then also our energetic body, and so that's really kind of how it all came together. And for me, it's worked when I work with clients, and in my practice, this has been kind of like the full circle, what ties everything together when just nutrition isn't working, or just diet and exercise isn't working, even though it seems like it should. This is what pulls it together.
Wow. I love how progressive and like how we're adding these modalities, and especially the stuff that's like in the quantum that's unseen.
Yeah.
So what was it that you were doing before that you were kind of doing some things you said, but this helped sort of complete that or maybe give it more clarity or more direction? What were those additional steps or processes that you added in after you learned from her? What's her name?
Her name is Noelle.
After Noelle taught you her techniques and her she probably got it passed down to her. Is she first generation, or did the healing come from someone else in her line too?
She honestly, I don't like, she just always kind of had a gift, I guess, and just, did it with her children, and then just literally got hit with like a calling, super intense. It was like, you need to move to Santa Fe. And she did it, and when I saw her, she was still, she's human. So she still had some loneliness, she's still, because her, she lived away from her family, but felt so strong. And the message was, it was constantly there. She was always talking to her guides and counsel, as she would call them. Yeah. And this is just what she was supposed to do. So I think for me, it was having a deeper understanding of like energy, having a deeper understanding. And this is what Noelle really helped me with, was just constantly clearing my energy centers, clearing my chakras, making sure that they were spinning, moving in the right direction. And I'd been through so many surgeries that she said that's one of the things where, because when you're under surgery and you're under anesthesia, you are so wide open. Like your physical body, but also your energetic body is so wide open. And there's a lot of, we call when you talk about attachments, I'm sure you're familiar, and cords, for example, like energetic cords you to another person.
Oh yeah.
And so there was so much of that we had not cleared, because until you're in a space where you understand that those cords need to be removed, that you need to be in your sovereign space. And so much of that had happened, and I had no idea, because when you're under surgery, you're so vulnerable and you're so open, and you're also under a lot of medication, which also takes you, it kind of like blocks your intuition a bit, right? And your third eye. And so there was so much clearing that she had to do in that process in that 8 months. And so she would talk to me, like we would go through like a list of all the things that she had cleared, and where in my body. So where in my energetic center, but also where in my physical body. And where there were blocks that she cleared, there was also physical manifestations of those blocks. And right. So you can have pains in different areas of your body. Let's say we have I'm sure you're probably familiar with like the 7 chakras. There's more than 7 chakras, but we focus on the 7 because it's easier. And let's say like you have your sacral, right? Your root, your sacral. When you feel ungrounded, that's your root chakra. You might need clearing there, or just support. And then you can feel more grounded. With your sacral, that's your adrenals, your reproductive organs, your intimacy, your sexuality, all of that. And so when those energy centers are either imbalanced, not in alignment, blocked, maybe spinning in the wrong direction, it affects that part of you physiologically, right? And so there were areas in my body that, you know, it seemed like conventional healing, traditional healing with medicine, that physical therapy was not healing. And working with Noelle and clearing blocks in my energy centers allowed those areas of my body to have more flow, and heal. And so then I realized, okay, everyone has like a different vehicle, right? And I realized our energy centers are in alignment with our physical organ systems. And so it made so much sense to me to like, if I'm getting so woo here. Is that okay?
Oh, I am literally as woo as you could imagine. So
Oh, thank
I
goodness.
understand every word you're saying, and I'll pause and ask for clarification
Wow.
when I feel like it's something where we'll lose people.
Okay, amazing then. So anyway, I felt like, you know, everything is energy, right? Whether or not you're doing Reiki or prana, you know, people are always asking me, well, what's Reiki? And I say, okay, Reiki is a, you know, Japanese technique where you're channeling, you know, you're almost like a conduit, and you're kind of directing energy, specific area, place, person, thing. But really, like, we're all energetic beings. So really, we all can do that. And there's techniques and there's styles and there's different names for it, but essentially when you send love, that is the same thing. You know, when you think about someone that you love and you hold them in your heart, you're sending them love, is the same thing. So then I thought about the vibration of food, and how whole foods have this powerful energy, like from the earth. And so I just thought, like, well, what if I tried putting energy back into my body through food? Because it just made sense to me, like, already with the science of it. And so I was just kind of trying that on my, you know, with my own body as I was in that recovery process. And then just decided to try it with clients as well, just to see, like, and also adding an intentionality to it, and adding in a level of like mindfulness and gratitude, and seeing how they would receive the food back into their body. Because when I teach people to have, like, to just take a moment, I walk them through like a gratitude process, say at the beginning of the day, and then we take that energy, we put it back into the food, we put it into our body. Just doing that in and of itself takes your body, if you happen to be in a sympathetic state, into a parasympathetic state. And then now your digestive system is in a space where it can receive, because it's like calm and relaxed. And even that, like from a physiological place, allows your body to process better, digest better, absorb the nutrients better. And so it just kind of all made sense to me, like, once I started trying it. And for anyone where they feel like it might be a little woo or, you know, a little rubbish, I'm just like, it doesn't cost you anything. You don't need me. I'll show you how to do it. You do it and see how that feels in your body as you receive it. Like, see how the food tastes. And in its most simplistic form, right? We talk about food as, you know, and like love is that secret ingredient. You know, we talk about like the recipes from our mom or our grandmother, and how we can replicate it to the T that they wrote down, but it might not taste the same. Like, why is that? Is it, even if we use all the same brands, everything, is it really because grandma left out a secret ingredient she didn't want us to know about? It's really the energy that comes through her, and it's powerful. And when we talk about quantum and resonance, if you're going to add that part in, it kind of makes sense. But yeah, so thanks for letting me go woo on you.
I'm going to keep taking you down that path, because that's so me. I love cooking. I often say to people to sort of give some perspective on what I feel like I'm good at. Like, I leave out racing, because that's what I used to do. And I say, if there's two things I'm good at, I could say driving, but instead I say cooking and working out. I'm pretty good at those two things. And so I make really simple food, but I always tell people, because it always tastes really good, I'm like, I think the difference is I love it. Like, I love making it. I love the food, and I don't even like to throw it away. I'm like a hoarding queen when it comes to food, because I'm like, no. I put love and care and energy into that food, and like, I care about that food, and it's really high quality, and there's no point in throwing that out. And so I do believe in that. And so I mean, I think that what is like a technique that someone could do to start like initiating this practice? Maybe give us a technique for activating or checking in with our chakras, our 7 chakras, and then perhaps putting energy into food and some simple things that people can do at home that are very simple.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so this is the easiest thing, and it's almost going to sound like it's too simple, but this is what I teach people. And so most of us have some sort of a gratitude practice, right? And if you don't have one, that's okay. I would recommend trying one out. So let's say you start off your day before you get out of bed, or maybe you're journaling and you're writing down or thinking and connecting with the things that you love, that you're grateful for. Mm-hmm. When you're in that process, and if you're thinking about your kids or your fur babies, or something that you love to eat, like your favorite dish you're going to make tonight because your best friend is in town, whatever it is, when you're connecting to that, I want you to connect to it until you feel like almost like a visceral response, like you feel like a physical response to it, right? And then that's when you're making that connection, that emotional, energetic connection to your physical body. That's something that's easy for your body to remember. So, if you're loving it, if you're thinking about the person you love, you literally start to tingle, right? You feel warm. If you're thinking about that favorite food that your mom used to make, you can smell it. You can smell it. You can taste it. You might even like salivate a little bit and have all these memories. This is so important. Then you take this energy, and when you go to your kitchen, whether or not you're just doing your lemon water at the start of the day or you're making a smoothie or coffee, whatever it is, I want you to now take that feeling that it's like tangible because you just connected to it viscerally, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're going to intentionally direct that energy towards that which you're now going to put back into your body or that you're going to serve to someone else. So let's say you're making breakfast, you're prepping food. It sounds so simple that it's almost like that can't possibly. It works. It's so simple. And you're just redirecting that energy and making that connection. It's almost like when you talk to plants, there's so many studies, and there's that Japanese doctor with the water, and it's that thought. It's powerful. It's not tangible, but it is, and so now you're putting that energy back into like food, beverage, something that you're now going to put back into your physical body.
There's lots of studies on that. There's lots of studies. The water study, plant. There's the great plant study. You speak highly to one plant, you hate the other plant.
Yes.
There's like the rice experiment where they divided like cooked rice into 3 jars and spoke differently to each jar, and they completely manifested different mold profiles and colors.
Yes.
This is like absolutely 100%. Anybody can Google these tests, but what's the doctor's what's his name?
Doctor, I think it's Umoto, or starts with an M.
Yeah, it's like Moto or Emoto, Massimo or Emoto, something like that. Look up like water study, and you'll absolutely see like water being it has different intentions to it, and it shows under a microscope.
Yeah, the molecules
of the water look completely different. So for people listening, if they don't feel like this is in any way tangible, real, visual, like there are actual visual studies of energy into somewhat live but inanimate objects, and they can literally leads to a completely different conclusion with them. So why would it be different with your food? When you say put the energy into your food, that still is a little bit of a confusing directive. So maybe go through the process of how exactly you do it.
So now you've connected, right, with that feeling from doing your gratitude, your gratitude practice, your gratitude list. You can feel how it feels when you're super grateful about something. You love it so much, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to go downstairs to your kitchen, or maybe you don't have stairs. You're going to go to your kitchen, and now you're preparing whatever it is that you're making, something to drink, water, tea, you're making your food. When I say put that energy back into your beverage or your food, you're doing it with gratitude. So you can literally say, I'm so grateful for this lemon water because I know it's going to heal and nourish me. I'm so grateful for this amazing spread, of food from the farmer's market. I'm so grateful I have a chance to make breakfast for the person that I love today. Or, God, I love coffee so much. Thank God for this cup of coffee. I mean, whatever it is that you're doing, it's just taking that moment. And it could be you're saying thank you. It's honestly the easiest thing to do. There's a few words that are so powerful. As we know, I am so powerful, and thank you, so powerful. So just being able to say that to your food or your beverage as you're putting it back in, or if you're just prepping, that's another way, just to acknowledge that which is in front of you. And in a way, you're honoring that. You're honoring those carrots and potatoes that you're preparing for dinner. Just putting that energy back in that way, you're literally sending that energy back into the food, which changes the resonance, of the food, which elevates it. And then that goes back into your body. And actually, environmentally, you're also elevating, the resonance, the frequency around you as well. So that is something I hope it's like a little bit more tangible, because now you can have words and thoughts that are connected to just like the feeling that you're directing and putting it back in. So an easy way to make a reference to it, if it's a little hard for someone to kind of conceptualize that, is think about someone that you love. It's what you just did in bed before you got out of bed. As you're going to just think about how that feels, and think about, gosh, if that person were having a bad day, and I just want to I wish I could hug them, but I'm not there right now. And you're thinking about them, and that love and concern that you're sending to them because you want them to feel you as much as they possibly can, even though you're not there. That's what you're doing, but you're doing it with food, or whatever it is that you're putting back into your body. And so you're almost like nourishing that. You're sending that nourishing energy into it and then back into you. And now there's certain foods that resonate with the different areas of your body. So, I'll pick out, for example, we talked about the root chakra, right? And so we're talking about your root, and that's your security. That's where people need to feel grounded and solid and stable. And when you're feeling stressed or anxious or out of body or fearful, and you want to feel kind of like strong and powerful again, then you reach for foods that are in alignment with the root chakra, which would be root vegetables, or vegetables that resonate with that color chakra. We've kind of assigned these colors, but that would be, the color red. So root vegetables, they're super hardy in minerals, and minerals of themselves help us feel calm. So say magnesium, for example. We have magnesium and selenium and zinc. These minerals actually help us feel more grounded. They help work with our neurotransmitters. Magnesium is a calming mineral. So root vegetables are rich in these type of vitamins and minerals. So from a physiological place, it can actually help you. And then just from an energetic place, they're very connected with earth energy, which is grounding. That's why people say, when you want to feel grounded, go outside, put your feet and your toes in the sand or in the grass. It's like you're doing that, but you can do it in your kitchen.
Yeah, I've looked into that too, and the colors and even the notes. Actually, behind me, you can kind of see on both sides. I have alchemy bowls. And so I have, there's only 6 here, but there's 2 more in my bedroom because I got a high crown. So I have all 7. And then I also got the high crown for an 8th. And so I'm like I said, I'm just as woo-woo as you could imagine.
Oh my goodness. So I'm so happy to hear that, because I have something to send you, but I was just like, it's going to be a little woo. Maybe it's not woo.
Well, you have an archon. We started there. We started with Nassim Haramein, which is like the most awesome scientist. Are there other aspects of sort of the quantum or spiritual or like the unproven, kind of stuff that you're fascinated with? It's just like a pure curiosity and maybe not necessarily exactly part of your job every day, although everything is always interconnected.
Well, everything is interconnected. So I love Nassim and everything he talks about. Dan Siegel, another person that I absolutely, do you know who he is?
No.
Oh, okay. I think it's Siegel, man. He's in Santa Monica. He really uses quantum physics to explain how meditation works and why it works. He's a physicist himself, so he's super cool. I'll send you his information. I'll send you his name. And then I saw that you also had Stephen Greer on, and so love him too. Like,
Yep.
all okay.
Aliens.
I know. I'm like, we were in Sedona in November, and we were on the hunt for aliens. So, I mean, that's another completely outside of what I do, but have such an interest in. What else? I work a lot with John Amaral.
I know who he is. I find him fascinating.
He's a dear friend.
Julianne Hough kind of helped put him on the map with that crazy like body movements that she was doing in that video. But his work seems fascinating too. That's absolutely working with your auric energetic field. And he's manipulating you through the field.
Yeah, he's a dear friend now, and we also, and I also work with him as well, like as a client. So we're both, and he's all about the different dimensions, and I had, because a lot of the trauma to my physical body, with all my surgeries and all these things that happen, I have a tendency to be out of my body, out of my physical body. And I will just super comfortable swimming over in the upper dimensions. Actually, I don't want to talk about this that much. So it'll be interesting how this is received. But so he's someone that's really worked with me to help bring me back and be connected here where my physical body feels like a safe space. We've done a lot of like healing and releasing of the things that have happened to the physical vessel. But that's what he does. It's somatic healing, and he works with the different dimensions, and it's kind of hard to even explain.
No, it is. I mean, it's because it's sort of like felt and not, it's like hard to put into words, feelings and sort of stuff in that realm. But it leads me to sort of the other, I do that stuff too. I have a body worker. I've cried because I've like given like sound to like a spot that wouldn't go away, and having this release. So then there's also those other layers of existence. And look, I know that you're a chef, and I know that you've bridged that with spirituality, but again, it's all connected. And it's like, so many people look to a diet, they look to a workout, they look to certain things, and they're trying to fix it. But like, then you get to these other spaces of reality, which is cellular memory, ancestral cellular memory, and or even childhood memory that you can't remember, things that your body blocks out because there was too much pain or trauma. And so it takes sometimes these healers, because we try everything that seems easy. It's like a baby, right? Baby's crying, so it's like feed it, and then maybe change its diaper, and then maybe it needs sleep, and then maybe it's teething, and like there's all kinds of, you kind of go through a checklist. So it's not always just obvious what it is, but sometimes there's other things going on that are just so you go through your normal checklist. You're like, I'm eating right. Yeah. I'm working out. I'm feeling pretty relaxed. I feel like you've got all these checklists going on, and you're like, but it's not solving I'm not getting the solution I'm looking for. And so then you get into stuff like with John working with the body, and even Reiki. Have you had stuff uncovered emotionally in your emotional body?
Oh, absolutely. And I've actually worked with clients to do that as well. That was something that I learned because we have such an emotional connection with food, right? And so often someone's habits, or like things that they can't seem to really kick, right, really comes from an emotional connection. It can, and I'm so happy we're in this like space where I can speak so freely about my belief system. But like sometimes it's, as you said, it can be like from your ancestral lineage. It could be something that had happened in your soul's journey from maybe even a past life. And so I've worked with clients, and that's why, like with what I do in Culinary Alchemy, like my practice, which I did on myself, it's just, I'm looking at your physical body. We go through all your labs and everything, but then I'm doing the healing work to connect, because that sugar craving that you may have has nothing to do with your physical body, has absolutely something that happened when you were like 5 or 6 or 7 that maybe carried on from like what happened with your mom. And once we figure that out, then it's no longer an issue. I've done that many times. And so for myself, working with someone like John or other healers to release, there are definitely traumas there that I wasn't even, because you think you're over something when, let's say, you don't cry about it anymore, or like enough time has passed, you can talk about it without getting emotional, right? You think you're over it, or I shouldn't say over it. You think you've healed from it. And what I learned in this process of working with different healers was that there were situations that had happened in my life where I thought I had healed from it because I kind of just like pushed past it. Super strong. I'm not going to let this take me down, and really I had just layered on skin above it, And so I've worked with healers and we've uncovered that, and it completely came out of nowhere where I wasn't expecting that was something that was going to come out. And so that's definitely happened on several occasions with traumas that have happened and there's no other word for it, traumas that have happened as in my journey.
Yeah. I've noticed from a physiological standpoint that there'll be a spot or something that bothers me. For some reason, for me, it's usually in my back somewhere, is where I manifest, like where things come up. And there'll be something that, I call like barking, or it's biting, or something that's just kind of like, and I can't shake it. And I know that I didn't do anything particularly to bring it on. There wasn't some weird workout I did or some move or something. And it's like been there for weeks now. And those are the ones where I just know that there's something going on in my energetic body that's creating a glitch.
Yeah.
A glitch in my matrix.
Yeah.
And then it's fun. It's true. Every time that I go in and get work done and have a release, that spot will then just disappear.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy. Do you have any examples of that happening?
Yeah. So,
or that you've seen happen to other people, or stories?
Yeah. So, I have actually, it was so funny. I just got off of a call with a client earlier today before I came on with you. And, he's been on this journey, but different issues come up, and he's an older gentleman, and, he has a lot of blocks when it comes to his throat chakra, right? Which is so interesting because in his industry, he's in the entertainment industry. There's a lot of talking, there's a lot of expression. It's by nature of the industry. There's a lot of creative expression. But I think on the backside of it, because he's more like behind the camera, behind the scenes, there's a lot of back and forth creatively where people have their different opinions and how things should be expressed in like the final product in the movie. And so, we're doing a check-in, and he said, okay, this feels better, but I've got this acid reflux, and I have this lump in my throat, and it feels like I can't swallow. And I said, okay, well, what did you have to eat, right? And we went through what he had to eat. That was pretty much fine. Where did you eat? And then it was like, who did you have dinner with? And then it was like, oh, okay. So it was a dinner meeting, about a project that wasn't going the direction that they wanted to go. So I said, I think you have actually like an energy block there, so can we work on that? So did a little Reiki distally. And then I said, okay, so do me a favor and like, do you have any blueberries? Like maybe you can throw some blueberries into a shake and just have like a big giant handful of some blueberries. And we're going to do a little bit of energy work. And like 30 minutes later, he called me and he's just like, I don't know what you did. This is like weird, but it's the lump is gone. The lump is gone. I feel better, and so it can be really simple things like that. Or in my personal journey, because all the surgeries that I had were in my chest, that's basically where the MRSA just found nestled in a nice little like hiding space that was kind of hard to get to with all the surgeries that I had so many layers of, so many surgeries, so many layers of like physical trauma, obviously with like fascia and scar tissue, and then also emotionally. And of course there's also pain, like every single time you have to cut your fascia, every time you sever the matrix there, physiologically and energetically, like there can be pain, especially if it's not nurtured, right? And I didn't know about any of that my first several surgeries. Like I didn't even know how. I didn't even have an understanding of that. And honestly, just recently, I was working with kind of like a doctor, but we're doing more holistic work. And we kind of injected a fluid. It's almost like a stem cell type. So it's like exosomes basically. And a combination of like energy healing to that area plus this fluid. It was like, there's much more detail, and I could, I could take a little bit of time to go into all the detail, but to skip the part, not because I'm not open to sharing it, I can if we had more time. But in the room, in the clinic, when we did this, it was palpable. Like I still get goosebumps talking about it, where the release, like the fluid released at its space between the layers of fascia and the tissue, finally had a chance to like open up. And then and then energetically too, just like directing energy, like very consciously, intentionally, like just trying to drive light and healing energy to that area. It was like, and it was so emotional. Like one of the nurses got emotional. Like you could feel it in the room, the release of stuck energy and like the release of like layers of like trauma. And I was like, the nurse got emotional because it was also so unexpected. Like we didn't know, it was kind of experimental what we were doing. And it was profound, and that's really like, that is science. That's the quantum and energy coming together. And I really feel like this is going to be the future of health, as like we have a better understanding.
I mean, that's absolutely what I wanted to ask you about too, was just what's coming down the pipeline. So I want to get to that at the end, but I want to, first off, Reiki, for people who don't know, and you say I did Reiki, you can do Reiki from anywhere. I mean, you can do Reiki directly over the body, or you can be on the phone and do Reiki, because from an energetic standpoint, it doesn't know time and space. So you're connecting through, I like to imagine the quantum field as looking like the neurological webbing in your brain of firing, like the way it looks like that webbing. Yeah. And so I imagine that to be sort of like basically everything we can't see is that. Yeah. And so it's the connection through that field that we can be anywhere with our energy.
100%. That's exactly. It's such a great way, actually, of you explaining it. That's exactly how I see it. That's exactly what it is.
I'm such a visual person. I'm like, and so a lot of times when I describe stories, I'm like, I gotta close my eyes. I'm sorry, I'm really visual, and then I'll go like this. But Reiki can be done anywhere. So I just think it's important that people know that, because somebody listening might be hearing this and they might think like, but I live here and this might be, I don't know where I'd find that person. And, in fact, I invested into a company. The name of the company is Wellset. And I had it was funny. I had some argument and then I was like crying on the balcony and looking out into the ocean. And I'm like, I just had a good idea for a business. What the hell is that all about? But it was this idea that there would be some sort of platform or some sort of website or something where you could go and find holistic healers. So Reiki,
Yeah.
astrology, acupuncture. So what I'm curious about is that we've got to the point where it's like the spiritual realm, it's kind of like, I'd say it's probably more of your final stop. It shouldn't be, but it tends to be. So how would you, if someone were to come to you and want your guidance and help nutritionally, say they had sort of goals of overall being more healthy. Perhaps they want to alter their blood work numbers, whether they be, cortisol or cholesterol or thyroid or whatever it may be. And they wanted to lose weight and they wanted to get more healthy. Like, what would be the protocol that you'd start with for that?
So that's a great question. So I would say with all people who really want to work one-on-one, I do like a whole intake. So I have labs run, which I've been doing forever. It's so great because now labs are so easily accessible. I mean, you used to have to go through your doctor, and now there's all these labs that people can actually order online, and it gives you more insight because it's not just standard blood work or what your vitamin D levels are. It's your inflammation markers. We can do a full like adrenal panel. I can do so much, and you can know what your micronutrient levels are. So I have people run several labs to see what's going on inside your physiological body. And then I have them do a pretty extensive intake that gives me a little bit of an insight of like where you're at in terms of like Chinese medicine, like Ayurvedic, like where your disposition is at. And then also I take into account like what your goals are and what your lifestyle is. Because some people want, everything that you listed, but they're sort of like, well, but I like to have a glass of wine like 4 nights a week because part of my job, I take clients out for, meetings or dinners. This is where business deals are made, blah, blah, blah. And they want to factor that in as well, how we can offset that. So it's pretty much like it's an extensive intake like that. And then I also do an energy intake. So I'll do Reiki, anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour, depending on what that person prefers. And I get a sense of like what's going on inside their energetic body, like where there may be blocks, there's some congestion, like where we need to focus some attention. And then we create like a protocol for you. And that's usually, comprehensive in terms of like the foods that you can choose, I want you to choose from. Like we create sort of like, I don't want to say a meal plan exactly, but guidance, because some people really like rigid. So that's great. That's easy. Some people like to be able to free flow, but, have a list of things that they can choose from. And we just kind of create this protocol. And more often than not, it includes other modalities that you can do on your own, So I love, if it's accessible to you, I love like hyperbaric. Obviously, I love LED, and I love all these other modalities that I feel are really complementary to the protocol, depending on what it is that what your goals are. So that's usually what it looks like, as sort of like an initial, consult with me, and it kind of gives you a breakdown, a guideline of what to do. So with each person, it's a little bit different because your disposition is different. And where you hold weight may be in your physiological, or it may be in your energetic body. You may have a blocked solar plexus, and that affects your digestion, your digestive system, and that makes your metabolism slow down and, that whole process less efficient. So we might just need to address your solar plexus, and some key foods to eat there and some key foods to maybe like substitute out. And it's less adding on 30 minutes of exercise and less, about calories or intake. So with each person, it's a little bit different. But, if I'm working with like a collective group of people, there's like little check-ins that I ask you to take inventory of yourself so that you can figure out, okay, is this a congestion in this energy center? Where does this align to? Do I feel like I'm having a hard time digesting my food, but I'm eating all the right things and I'm not eating anything that I have an intolerance to or an inflammatory response to? Then you kind of know it may be your energy center, right? But sometimes you're eating something that you do have an inflammatory response to and you don't know it until the test. So that's why I kind of run, we go through, it's comprehensive, we do kind of all of it to figure out, okay, what is it? And there's always a solution, we just have to figure out where to look. And then we just help our bodies do it because our bodies are designed to heal and to thrive.
And I'm sure that you have incredible results with the people that you work with, because you close the loop of potentiality with,
Mm.
because like you said, I'm sure that in the past, it's like, even with yourself, you're working through the standard modalities of
Yeah.
being healthy. And then, once the spirituality came in, it finally closed that loop. Um, that's so cool. I probably am going to sign up to do it, by the way, because I love being like a test dummy for myself, and I love learning about I like
Well,
to
I'm excited. I mean,
me. I like to know the truth about reality. I like to know the truth about what's best for me. I love when I hear stories about products that come out and hearing their authentic origin. So, as I've heard you talk about your product, Just Add Water, I know it's really simple and you just add water, but I love more of the story about you were making it for yourself and your clients. So I want to hear more about what were you trying to achieve that you realized you could monetize and make for everyone?
oh, well, thank you so much for asking about that. Yeah, Just Add Water. Honestly, I was making this because I have so many clients that, and I'm sure you can relate. They are just, they're doing so much, like they are either really peak performer type of entrepreneurs, or a lot of my clients are in the entertainment industry. And so whether they're front of the camera or behind, but especially for the ones that are front of the camera, sometimes they're all over. They fly, they land, they've got to look, and give off and feel that and have that like A game, basically. So, they don't get a chance to necessarily go and decompress and take a shower and do this. Sometimes they have to be right on the red carpet within a short period of time. I'm sure it's something you've probably experienced. And so what was happening was every time they travel and I wasn't traveling with them, they'd come back like either bloated or sick, or they'd gain weight, or they'd be carrying a little bit of weight and inflammation. So I started making these blends for them, like just in my kitchen, like raw organic powders. Cause I'm like, what's the easiest thing? Cause you can't bring your smoothie. You can't always bring your blender with you. You can't bring all this. And sometimes you're in places and those things aren't accessible. And, I'm always saying Whole Foods is the best, but if you don't have it, like have really high quality, raw, organic, dehydrated. It's your next best thing. So I was making this, and it was when I literally just had them in Ziploc snack bags, and I would just pile it into their like bag. And I'm like, just take this with you, have one of these like every day, just once a day while you're gone, add water to it, just like dump it into a water bottle or something and come back to me whole. And so that's what I did. And then I was with some clients one year at the Cannes Film Festival, and they were drinking this stuff. And you're pretty healthy, you cook, and when it's really good for you, it's like kind of brown and kind of green, and it's not the prettiest looking drink if it's in like a glass, right? It looks kind of like sludge. And so real good product, like shout out for myself, but that's kind of how it looks like. It's like brown and green. And they were drinking it, and some of their friends were also with us, and they were like, what is that you're drinking? Because first of all, it looks terrible, but I was with you until like 5 a.m. we're at Hotel du Cap, and they're like, and I do not look or feel like you right now. So is that your secret? So it became a thing. And I obviously had some more because I have it for myself. And it's just about, and I say it's everything that you need in a day. Now, nutritionally, some people will be like, well, it doesn't have all 17,000 vitamins that you need to have in it. But it really is everything that you need in a day. It's got like 8 super greens. It's got all these antioxidants. It has probiotics, prebiotics, digestive enzymes. So when you drink it, you don't feel bloated. And it's got, really good solid amount of organic yellow pea protein. So it's got some protein in it as well. It's under 100 calories. It's got like 7 grams of carbs. It's what you need to kind of like get you over that like little bit of hunger you might have if you've been running around all day. Some people have what they call a sugar crash. Usually you're just dehydrated, but sometimes you might need a little bit of fuel. This became, Just Add Water, because these people were like, oh, we need this, we need it we need it on set. We needed it for our productions. We need it for this and that. So it became a thing. And I had another company, an owner of a different company there that was like, we have these like health and beauty, these beauty and wellness boxes that are going out in December. Can you be in it? You know, it was like 400 or 500 boxes. And I just said yes, even though like we didn't yet have like a logo or anything. And I called my
packaging. You're like, I have a lot of Ziplocs to do.
It was like literally Ziploc bags. And I remember calling my sister. I'm like, so, you know, this thing that we've just been calling, like Just Said Water, like with the girls in the gym, just like joking around. I'm like, we're going to need to come up with a logo. And she was like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And that's what happened. And we were like, I'll never forget when we're going through trying to find the right font. I mean, just hours cross-eyed going through hundreds of fonts and just kind of did it. And it became
never mind the trademark. Trademarks are a pain in the ass of them of themselves.
Oh, and we're registered now. Like we own Just Add Water in like the beverage space, food and beverage, which is huge. And you know, that's a different story. We had so many people telling us, oh, don't waste your money on patents or trademarks. You can't protect your formula. You don't even know if it's going to be a thing. And I was like, I'm still going to do it. And I'm so glad we did, because fast forward, you know, a couple years later, when it's now even more visible, we're registered. So it's amazing that we own that. But thank you for asking about that. That's basically how it started. I just wanted my clients to like maintain as much health and balance as possible while they were traveling and gone for them, so that they could feel better and so that they could show up, you know, the way they need to show up. And it became a thing. And so they're wonderful because they stock their sets with it. You know, Just Add Water I don't have children. I have fur babies.
I hear you. Come here, Ella. She's so sweet. She's been waiting for this moment. Come here. Get your pup.
Oh, hi.
There's another one too, but she's probably
what a sweetheart
or something. But
and we have another one right here too, but she doesn't climb the couches.
Do you cook food for your dogs?
Yeah, they eat home cooked. They do a little bit of like, because they're on special diets. So they do a little bit from like Just Food for Dogs. But we primarily just like cook for them.
What do you cook them?
So Gizmo really likes chicken, vegetables. They do actually do a lot of vegetables. Jezzy likes rice, but we also have them do cauliflower rice. And then he has some heart issues, and so he likes a little bit of beef here and there as well. But everything is like, and even though we're plant-based, you know, everything is like all organic, it's Mary's, it's all the best. Like it's all what you would eat if we were just have a dinner party. They eat the same.
I look at my dog's food and just before I add, there's a product called Balance It. If you make your own dog's food, you get this as a supplement. It kind of has more minerals and things that dogs need. I don't know why it'd be so much different than a human, as I'm pretty sure I could exist on turkey, sweet potato, and green bean for my whole life, but they get that in it. And I'm looking at it other than that ingredient going, this is a good meal. Every time those sweet potatoes come out of the oven, because I roast like 6-7 pounds of them, I'm like snacking on them before I dump them in the mix. So what is your diet?
Well, I'm plant-based, so and I haven't always been, actually. I grew up and I studied classic French cuisine. I'm Chinese, so I definitely didn't grow up plant-based. But mine is, I do a lot of vegetables. Like I love vegetables. I love my green vegetables. I would say most of my diet is either roasted, steamed. I like cooked meals. I do salads, but you know, I love cooked and warm foods. I love soups. Like, so I do a lot of soups. Broth soups, but also puree soups. They're so easy and they feel hearty to me. I'm a huge fan of dips. So like anything that can blend up and put into a dip. So I obviously do like a lot of, like I love avocado. It's like we have a relationship. I love avocado in any form. Like, and then I do a lot of hummus type dips. So, and I do a lot of sprouts now. So I kind of got turned on to sprouts last year, and we sprout constantly. And I mix
Pea
it into-
sprouts are the best. I love pea shoots. Pea shoots are so good. Sunflower sprouts are so good.
I do broccoli sprouts too. So broccoli sprouts actually have the highest amount of sulforaphane in them, which is a great like anti, cancer. I'm putting that quote in that term in quotes. But it's something that's so good for you, and it actually is higher in sprouts than it is in actual broccoli. So the amount, the equivalent that you would need in sprouts and broccoli is a huge difference. But broccoli sprouts are great. It's one of like the healthiest foods that you can possibly have. And we sprout everything, like all the legumes we sprout, all these seeds, we sprout everything. And it's so like the easiest thing to do. I never knew how easy it was until I started doing it. It's the easiest thing to do. Do you do it at home or do you buy it?
No, I buy it. I've had gardens in the past, but I've moved so many times, and being in Scottsdale, it's a tough place to like have a garden. I know I can grow those because like a while back I bought this sort of thing. I totally took the bait on some Instagram sponsored ad, and it was, like it was a little tray, and then you could pick the sprouts that you wanted to grow, and within like a week you have them. And but that was really cool. But I mean, I love growing. Like back in North Carolina years ago when I lived there, I had a full garden.
Wow.
But I don't.
Yeah, these I just grow in the kitchen in like mason jars. So I'm telling you, it's like the easiest thing ever. You just like put a couple tablespoons of it. You like let it soak in water for 6, 7 hours, 8 hours. You rinse it out, pour it upside down, and you just like, and it just does its own thing. You don't have to do anything to it. It doesn't have to be in the sun.
You mean you just pour, like you pour out the water from, like, let's say you wanted to do broccoli sprouts. So what do you do?
So whatever sprouts, it could be any seed. Like you talked about peas, sunflower, we sprout all of it. So just like a mason jar, like a glass mason jar, like if you have a spaghetti sauce jar, same size, right? And you just make sure it's super clean. And you just put like maybe 2 tablespoons of the seeds in there, and you fill it halfway up with water just so the seeds are soaking, and you're letting all the phthalates kind of release from it. So all the toxins that like plants naturally produce, right, in their own protective defensive way, you just let it soak for about 8 hours. Then you pour out the water, you rinse it out. So you can get like, it's like canning jars, so there's like the top and the thing that comes off. So you get the lid that's got like a sieve sort of. So then you can like pour out all the water, give it a little rinse, and then turn it upside down. You can just lean it against like the wall of your, like on the counter of your kitchen. And then like by the next day, you'll see a little bit of sprouting. And then for the
jar is upside down.
Yeah, but like at an angle, so it can like breathe a little bit. So you turn it upside down, but it's kind of like, it's propped up there's like little stands that you could buy, but you don't need it. You could just have it like just propped up against like, the kitchen wall, like if you're on the counter, you can just have it propped up against it. So it's like at an angle, so instead of like upside down, it's like this. And then the next day you just give it a little rinse. You rinse it twice a day, put in some water, shake it up, rinse it out, put it back, prop it up against the wall, like at an angle so that it's not flat. And it has breathing room. And about, 3 or 4 days later, you have sprouts.
Wow.
It's the easiest thing.
So, and because I loved cooked foods too, and maybe somebody else listening loves cooked food. I find it just makes me feel better. I actually get a stomach ache from, like, if I have a smoothie or something like that, it just doesn't feel like it digests as well. It must have to do some Ayurvedic answer to this.
Yeah.
So I like cooked foods, but I know that I also get a benefit from things that are alive. I call them alive,
Yeah, I say the same thing.
Haven't been heated. So it's so great, like to have, vegan toast with avocado and sprouts, right? Because then
that's
it's
exactly what I do.
Adding something alive to it, or some cooked ingredient like that you could have whatever it may be, your vegetables, your protein, and then top it with sprouts because you're like, there's something alive.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't hurt your tummy. I don't think you'll have a hard time digesting it because it doesn't, I have no problems digesting sprouts. And I mean, I've been a super nerd. I'm really revealing a lot right now, but I've sprouted in my hotel room. So if I know like I'm going to be traveling for like more than a week, like I'll be, actually I'm going to be in Paradise Valley like
Oh,
this weekend. Yeah.
oh,
So
what?
yeah, I'm there for the Consumer Health Summit.
What?
So
How did I not know about this? I'm a consumer and I like health.
yeah. Oh my goodness, you should come.
Okay.
I'll tell Michael Fishman, but you should come. It's like all these, like nerdy people and thought leaders in the health and wellness space. And so yeah, you should come. And I'll sprout anyway. So I'll sprout in my hotel. So I'll just bring like a little mini jar. And then I'll have my seeds in a Ziploc, and then I'll just have it like in my bathroom and it sprouts. And I know it sounds so nerdy, but if I have to have hotel food, and sometimes when you're eating out, you can be at great places, but sometimes you have to have room service. If I'm in a conference or something and I get home late and I just want to eat a little something.
Okay, so we're to that final question now where I knew I wanted to get to, but that's what's coming. And so, part of it is perhaps your sort of crystal ball and also like things that are coming. And then also sort of incorporating what you want to come. Like what do you see coming through the pipeline when it comes to health? And then, what do you want to come into into that sphere? And then what's the ideal situation in the end? How do we exist in the most healthy way?
So I really see energy work as something that's becoming so much more mainstream, and people, and it's not quite there yet, but people are so much more open to what it is, trying it out, trying to understand it, even if they come from a very science background, or even people who kind of need tangibles. So working with some doctors now, I personally am, and just trying to figure out how we can like quantify it and show the community who needs results, who needs numbers, how we're able to quantify the healing results that come from energy, right? And also, there's so many devices out there, like so many quantum devices that have been around since the time of Rife. And, they're just becoming more and more consumer friendly. So I use a device called the Healy, and it's like a wearable small device that really is very much the same. It's a frequency device. And it can measure the resonance of your body and where there may be different blockages. And then you can run programs on it that's preset. So it's very consumer friendly. And I can use it as a practitioner alongside, my energy practice and even my nutrition practice. I use it as a complementary modality. But, you can measure like your own resonance in your body and then like where you may need help. So I see more and more of these type of devices becoming more accessible, because this was just FDA approved around this time last year. So I think it was May that it was FDA approved in the US for pain, but it does a lot of other things. But they've been using it in Europe for quite a few years now. So I see more of that. And I think that clearly from what I do, that energy component with it, like really working with resonance and energy and adding the quantum into what is more tangible for the average consumer, is going to be the near future. At least that's really what my hopes are. And I can't reveal too much right now, but I'm working with a company where, we're really trying to change like how healthcare is and what gets covered, by the government in terms of healthcare. So right now, say nutrition is not covered by your insurance. There's certain types of modalities, even seeing your chiropractor, seeing your acupuncturist, not covered by all insurances. And so I see a gradual shift towards that as well.
That just happened with WellSet. I think WellSet just literally got taken on by healthcare.
Oh, really? Like today?
Announced WellSet's been accepted as one of 5 companies to participate in the 1501 Health Incubator Investment Vehicle created by First Care Blue Cross Blue Shield, HealthWorks, and LifeBridge Health from over 120 competing companies. Looking forward to making holistic care, mental health care, and preventative health care more accessible by increasing wellness coverage with these incredible insurance companies over the course of the next year.
Oh my gosh. So
literally, I just screenshotted that to repost it because I was that's amazing.
Yeah. No,
So
that's
look at that. That was very quick manifesting. I'm not sure if you realize how fast that was, but that was lightning speed.
That is amazing. And I've done work with Wellset as well. I've done stuff. I'm one of the practitioners on their platform. And I love the founder. I actually met her at
Tegan?
at Mind Body Green at Revitalife.
She's brilliant.
Yeah, she's great. She really is. And so that's amazing. And again, that's just one, but I see more and more of that happening because there's such an awareness and functional medicine and functional nutrition is also becoming much more mainstream. And that's because of so many of the people that are out there, like a lot of these just thought leaders. Thought leaders, visionary people who are very, very vocal about how medicine and of course nutrition really is individualized, personalized, but also it's a comprehensive. You really have to factor in different aspects of it. It's not straightforward. It's not the pyramid. So I really see that as our future. That's really it's very close. It's not too far away.
Your ideal grand view, your utopia, your sort of like dream health scenario for culture, for humans.
Well, really, like, my dream is just that everybody really has an understanding that first of all, we are incredible, complicated systems, machines, just us as humans, like what it takes to run our bodies. Like, we forget like how incredibly powerful we are, and it's so easy to get distracted by the media, news, and headlines, and have those headlines sort of disempower us. And so, I would love for us to all be in this space to really honor our temples and understand who we are, how we're built, what we're made of, and that we really have this power to heal, to thrive, to be even more than how we have been. And I would love that obviously I would love for everything to be accessible to everybody. We honor like Mother Nature because she provides back to us. And so to be able to have this cycle in the reverse of what we have right now, where in so many ways we're hurting the planet and the planet provides, and we give back to it so that cycle can continue in a form of abundance. And then there really is enough for everyone. It's totally utopian. Doesn't mean that it can't happen. I always believe that, if that energy is put out there and we're kind of all on the same page, that the power of the collective, is massive. And it's just about kind of shifting our mindset. So,
well, it's down to what do we need? Like 1%. I think like 1% has to shift its consciousness, has to sort of evolve or ascend to some level. And then it's a collective rise. There's some study, I don't know if it's like there's like some monkey study or something like that, where once like 1% of the monkeys learned how to do something, there was some sort of trickle down effect, even without proximity. Like it's just a sort of the shift in existence.
And that's all we need. And I think it's possible, along with, I'm sure, you and Kelly, and there's so many of us that truly believe that it's possible.
That's what this show is for. I mean, that's what I'm sure the work that you do is for. That's what I do this show for. That's what is because it's just little seeds of inspiration to help wake up to our untapped potential and sort of bigness that we, don't realize. So thank you for the work that you do and for, wanting to help people. I mean, I think that's so clear, is that you want to help people be their best self, and you've gone through enough experiences to be able to give people really proper direction. So thank you.
Thank you. No, and truly, thank you so much. I mean, I really loved our chat today. Like, it was so much fun, and thank you so much for what you do. There's such a magic and a light that you bring to the world, and so thank you so much. I'm just grateful.
Thanks everybody for listening to the Pretty Intense podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like what you heard today and you want to hear more, please click on the subscribe button.